We have a lot coming up for you on the show today, but we are going to be starting off with the latest in James Crumbley's involuntary manslaughter trial. Of course, he is the father of the Oxford High School shooter. His wife, Jennifer, was convicted of those same charges just last week, and we know that you followed along with her trial. So James's trial begins on March 5th, and there are motions now for a change of venue, preventing certain witnesses from testifying, and there are really a lot of questions about how this case will be similar and what changes we could also see. So I am beginning a series of reports to talk about what we can expect in a trial that will certainly make national news yet again. And recently I sat down with Detroit defense attorney Lillian Diallo for some of those questions.
How does going second hurt or help James Crumbley's case?
Well, I think it helps him in that you can see how the prosecutor laid out her case and their theory. And one of the things Madam Prosecutor said is she was the last adult to touch that gun. I would pull that thread because they have not made a connection between James Crumbley touching that gun and then the shooter. But we can see clearly Miles was in the shooting range and she walks the gun out. So who stored the gun, right? And who stored it properly or improperly? How would use it?
There are also a lot of differences that we might see in witnesses and some similarities because the prosecution still has to paint the idea of this crime happened. The prosecution wants two students to testify, and we could see some witnesses who say, I don't want to testify again because it is just too emotional. What are some of the similarities and the differences that we see?
Well, we know we won't get in any of Mom's business, right? How she had a dalliance with us. None of those things will come in this trial, nor should. The students testifying, that would be new, right? And that may be because the prosecutor is regrouping based on everything that happened at trial number one. So prosecutors regroup as well as defense attorneys, right? So they want to put on a better case that goes to James Crumbley because apparently, from what I can hear and see, he's a more sympathetic figure. And you want to try to make it more emotionally based. Like when you put the shooting up on the screen, I would have objected 7 ways to Sunday and then again, right? It's about, we know the horrendousness of what happened and it's unthinkable, it's horrific, right? But did you leave this weapon out so that your son could get to it? That's the issue. Not that he slaughtered all the people that he slaughtered, which he did, unexcusably. It's the access, and it's the parent responsible for the actions of their child that are not foreseeable. They're talking about this is so foreseeable. Well, they're going to have to make it foreseeable for James Crumbley.
How will the defense and the prosecution learn from Jennifer's trial?
Make sure you keep out what's supposed to be out and keep focus, right? Just keep focus on your case. Don't worry about the spotlight. Don't worry about the comments. You just focus in on your client and your client's defense. So if I were, and I'm not, and I don't try to tell defense attorneys what to do because it's a hard, lonely job, right? But if I were on that defense team, James Crumbley would be more sympathetic.
What about a change of venue?
Where's he going? This is national news, right? May even be international. We just want to focus on, can you be fair to this person that sits here? And when we listen to the foreman on the Jennifer Crumbley case, it seemed like they were pretty even, and it wasn't a fast verdict, was it? They went out and walked through and came to that decision, understanding lives are hanging in the balance. So I believe jurists, for the most part, take their responsibilities serious. You may have 1 or 2 outliers, right? But that's not the system that I know.
You know, the question of changing venue is a really interesting one. And when James and Jennifer were co-defendants, they did ask for a change of venue. That was back in 2022, and the judge did not grant that. So we wanted to take a closer look at what it means actually to change a venue or how difficult it can be. So I wanted to bring in Cassidy John Cox from clickondetroit.com. She's the one who's been writing so many articles and doing kind of like these legal deep dives for us for Jennifer Crumbley's trial and, of course, now going into James Crumbley's trial as well. So, Cassidy, I'm glad you're with me to kind of figure this all out as we watch this along together. So first off, talk to us about what court jurisdiction means in a case like this.
Right. So courts have to can only oversee a case that they have jurisdiction over, right? So in a criminal case, a court must have jurisdiction over a person or property that was involved in the crime. So in this case, the reason that James Crumbley's case is being heard in Oakland County is because the shooting occurred in Oakland County. His family lived in Oakland County, and that's where his alleged negligence occurred too.
All right. So, and then again, the defense, why would they ask for a change like this? Is this kind of a bit of a Hail Mary?
Yeah, so this is something, there are a lot of different reasons why a defendant might request a change of venue. And in this particular case, the biggest reason is because of the pretrial publicity. And that's, as you know, this case has been covered widely since the shooting occurred. And the defendant's motion says that, well, the local media has really focused on the parents' case, even more so than the shooter's case. And that's going to potentially impact his ability to secure a jury that is impartial.
So, I mean, we hear about defense attorneys asking for a change of venue, but I guess is it commonly granted?
So experts across the board say this is a pretty rare condition to have granted. I'm not a lawyer, but this, as you said before, the same exact judge ruled in 2022 that there was really no need to move this case out of Oakland County. And the prosecutors, in their response to this new motion from the defense, they said the same thing. They said, we haven't even gone through the jury selection process in this case yet, but just looking at what happened in Jennifer Crumbley's case, the jury selection occurred faster than they expected, and they were able to secure an impartial and a fair jury.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things that they can widen the jury pool. I mean, for Jennifer Crumbley's case, they brought in 300 people, and they didn't even go through all of those people. And again, they could probably, the prosecution could make the argument, we can bring in thousands of people if you really want to go one by one, but it has to go to that questioning. Can someone be impartial, even if they've heard all of those things? To be, fair, it is an international case. I mean, I have to point out that you were actually on a national podcast. Was it Nancy Grace's podcast, even talking about this from all of the writing that you've done about Jennifer Crumbley's case?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point, is that this case has gone so wide nationally because as we all know, these are the first parents of a school shooter to ever be charged for that shooting. So it would be difficult to find any area of the country, I think, that has not heard of this case even a little bit. But in 2022, Judge Cheryl Matthews said, Oakland County is a big county. It's a really diverse, large county. There's a good chance you're going to find a lot of different people who have different perspectives and the ability to be fair and impartial. So there's really no reason to take him to move elsewhere.
All right, Cassidy Johncox from ClickOnDetroit.com. Thanks so much. And you can follow along with everything that Cassidy is writing as we go along through this case. And of course, you can watch the trial. Will be streaming here as well. So ClickOnDetroit.com, Local 4+. We are going to be your place for James Crumbley trial when it gets started on March 5th is when jury selection is supposed to get underway.